Okay, today's class we looked at quadratics with some different attributes. We're viewing them as conics instead of as a quadratic equation. We've looked at our quadratics, our parabolas, that were written in standard form, which was y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. We've also viewed them in vertex form, which is what we had when we did completing the square. And that format was a times x minus h squared plus k. But now we're going to view them as conic sections. And a parabola is defined as the set of points that are equal distance from a given point, which we call the focus, and a line called the directrix. So if we look at this parabola, our vertex is at 0, 0. My focus is at 0, 2. The directrix is always in the opposite direction of the focus, and it's the same distance. I had to go 2 up to get to the focus. I'll go down 2 to get to the directrix. So my directrix is the line y equals negative 2. Every point on this parabola, if I were to measure the distance from the focus to the point on the parabola, and then compare that to the distance from the parabola straight down to the directrix, so it formed a right angle, those two distances will be exactly the same. Again, I can pick any point on this parabola and that will be true. So it's the set of all points that have equal distance from the focus and the directrix. Okay, we have some generic equations for these. And if our parabola opens up and down, which is what we've been used to so far, our equation can be written as follows. So cross off what was in your notes. But the generic equation is x squared equals 4 times p times y. P is defined as the distance from the focus to the vertex or the vertex to the directrix. The sign of P comes from the subtracting the vertex from the focus. So in one that opens up and down, we'll take the y value of the focus and subtract the y value of the vertex. So let's take a look here. On this particular one, the focus is at 0, 2, the vertex is at 0, 0. 2 minus 0 is 2, and that's positive. So my p-value on this guy is 2. The generic equation for this guy, we're going to plug in 2 for p. So it's going to be x squared equals 4 times 2 times y, which is x squared equals 8y. Okay, so now we're kind of curious. We know what P is. It's the distance from the vertex to the focus. But what is the relationship between A, when you're in either vertex form or standard form, and P when you're in this conic form? So remember that in standard form, we have y by itself. So let's manipulate this equation to get y by itself. If we have x squared equals 8y, to get y by itself, I divide by 8. I can then rewrite this equation as 1/8 x squared equals y. Thus, my a value here is 1/8. So a equals 1/8 when p equals 2. The way we'd express this in a relationship is a is equal to 1 over 4 times p. So this is very handy if we know the p value. And again, p is the distance from the vertex to the focus, or from the vertex to the directrix. We can plug it in to find a. Likewise, sometimes we might know the a value and need to figure out p. To do this, we multiply both sides by p and then divide both sides by a. The result is p is equal to 1 over 4a. So both these equations are handy to have and to keep in mind. Okay, with parabolas, when we view them as conics, we can also view them sideways. So these can open, let's look at this one on the right, they can open to the right or they could open to the left. Obviously, if they open horizontally, they are not functions, as they do not pass the straight line test. There are 2 y values for every x on here. But we can find an equation for this guy. So looking at this one, our vertex is at 0, 0. Our focus is at 5, 0. Thus, P is 5. And again, we said that to get the sign of P, we look at our focus minus the vertex. So when we're looking horizontally, we've got to look at our x values. So the x value here is 5 minus the x value of the vertex, which is 0. So that is a positive 5. Okay, so our equation now, our generic equation for horizontal opening parabolas, it's very similar. We're going to cross out the one that's in our notes. There we go, cross that out. And just like our vertically opening one, we're going to start with a square term, but it's going to be a y squared equals 4px. So p in the parabola we just looked at above had a value of 5. So the equation for this parabola is y squared equals 4 times 5x, which of course simplifies to y squared equals 20x. Okay? And again, the relationship between a and p is the exact same. A is equal to 1 over 4p. P is equal to 1 over 4a. And we will come back to these depending on what information we're given in a problem. Okay, let's look at the next video to see what's going on with our transformation equations.